back to issue number 6 of the Infinite Backlog, a chronological tour of the best and most noteworthy Marvel comics. I'm the Savage Andy, and with me are my co-hosts, the Magnificent Shane.
Hello.
And the Extreme Rory.
Hey there.
I wanted to make sure you notice this. The Extreme is spelled X-Treem.
Oh, I do notice it.
Oh.
I never put an E before my X.
Oh, how nice.
Today's comics follow the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Just them. We're down to 2 titles, and they take us from February through July of 1965. And to give you, I like throwing in a little historical context. We got some heavy shit going on in February through July 1965. The first American troops land in Vietnam. Martin Luther King Jr. leads a bunch of marches out of Selma, and Chim Chim Cheree wins the Oscar for Best Song. It's really just like intense stuff going on.
Chim Chim Cheree, like
Chim Chimney.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's a weird Oscar pulled, and that's the one reference to the Oscars. Best song.
Well, when the musical theater guy is in charge of your poll, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Look, it's sort of like, you know, when they do the compliment sandwich. I like to do 2 intense history facts in one
whimsical one.
Theater, one whimsical one. So how do you guys feel now that we're down to 2 titles?
These are pretty fun this week. I had a good time. Not as much slogging through chaff.
Yeah. Shane, I got a taste. I sort of stuck my finger in my mouth and felt the Shane wind before we started.
That's disgusting.
And I feel like you had a bad time this week.
I did, but I think part of me having a bad time comes from the fact that I just don't like the Fantastic Four. It's just it's the same thing over and over and over again, and okay, listen. I don't know if you're ready to talk about them. Are you ready to talk about them?
I'm ready.
Sure,
You're clearly taking
with Fantastic Four.
Okay, we're going to start with Fantastic Four. I have this thing where when every week your storyline is, oh no, I've lost my powers. Quickly, Reed, you must find a way to give us our powers again. It's a snooze fest.
It culminates in a moment, right? It's kind of like this back and forth thing, this rubber banding of powers, no powers, has sort of culminated in the Thing quitting at the very end of the last issue we read.
Mm-hmm. Which hopefully makes something interesting happen next week, right? Like Ben, I loved everything going on with Ben over the course of this. I mean, Ben is clearly the best.
I mean, it's on the nose, but he's the rock of the team. He's the emotional core. Everybody else is rich and fabulous and has everything going on.
Yeah, we keep seeing the fucking Human Torch. Johnny's just like parading his like never-ending supply of fancy cars, like muscle cars. Like, these are not normal people. It actually, like, I sympathize a lot with Peter Parker when he's like in his own title, when he sees the Fantastic Four from afar, and from his perspective, it's like, man, hero life must be fucking easy for the Fantastic Four. Everyone loves you and you're rich as shit and you don't have to hide your identities. Oh, how nice it is on your ivory tower up in the Baxter
then they have
building.
an ivory tower and they get sent they get sent gifts just so people will pay. Like, it's basically corporate sponsorship. It's super gross.
Yeah. I find their position is very fascinating in the sort of hero canon. I mean, like, everyone respects the Avengers and the X-Men even are sort of like
the Fantastic Four celebrities.
Yeah, they're just celebrities. It's interesting, especially seeing as how Spider-Man is just like he's like tabloid food. Like, they chew him up every week.
And Thing is the only character actor on the team. Everybody else is a Hollywood lead.
Yeah, everyone else is a lead.
It's a team of 3 ingenues and 1 like Cherry Orbach.
1 Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah.
There's like even a moment in so obviously, like, they get engaged, right? Like, Mr. Fantastic and Susan get engaged, right? Reed and Susan get engaged, and there's one panel where all the other superheroes are there.
And did you call her Susan?
Right? Like, what did I call her?
Her name is Susan.
Yeah, her name is Susan.
It's just like the idea of saying the whole thing. Like, it's just Sue Storm is Storm. Susan Badweather.
She is. Yeah. Susan Badweather.
Susan Badweather's my mother.
Yeah, and Jonathan Badweather.
Susan and Jonathan. Yes.
The New Jersey Badweathers. Yes, of course.
But there's a moment where Spider-Man shows up to this party where every other hero is there eating cake, and he steals a fucking piece of cake out of the window.
Yeah, he's completely shunned, and you feel for him, getting him. When you're not focused on Spider-Man, it's really easy to sort of see that he's just an outcast from this group, which is fun. I mean, it's fun, as a reader, to see that hiccup.
And I know that it's not particularly complex at this point in time, but I always am a real big fan of the sort of dynamic that Peter and Johnny have, where they're both like put everything else aside, they're both superpowered teens, but Johnny has this like he constantly acts superior because everyone has like supported him, right? Like he's a celebrity and everyone approves of what he does, and yet Spider-Man gets shit on, but effectively they're doing the same thing. It's just Spider-Man's poor. And like having these two teen heroes sort of like butt heads is fun, and I wish they kind of did it more. I think that there is more to come between their rivalry that's more interesting, but I don't know, that's an angle that I like, and I do like Peter having like an outsider feel.
Also, to mention one other point from the fantastic cake party was just a couple panels with my best friends, the X-Men, but it is a really funny like 2-panel. It's not even a joke. It's just seems kind of I don't know. So what happens is, the X-Men have to pretend they're not familiar with Professor X, that they're sort of unaffiliated. And then the very next panel is, well, the X-Men have offered to walk me home.
Yeah, they're going to give me a ride home.
Also, I fucking adore that like they're all having a great time, but Professor X, like Xavier's like, I'm done with this party. I want to go home. And he sends a fucking telepathic message that's like, we're all leaving the party now. And they're like, I guess our party's done.
He's like the boss girl in a mean clique.
We're out of here. What? I said we're out of here. We're leaving.
We're leaving, Jean.
Stop making eyes at Thor. We're leaving.
We're fucking leaving Jean.
God. I want to talk about the Frightful Four. So this is...
Oh, God.
See right there, Rory. See?
No,
this is
shut up. These are incredible.
This is, I have such a boner for super like very silly villains.
Yes.
And even sillier than Fancy Dan might be Paste Pot Pete.
Okay, this is our first experience with Paste Pot Pete, but at this point he's already like an established like villain that he's been fighting various different heroes, and he's never gone to jail, I think. It's ridiculous, and his power is that he has a gun that shoots glue.
His power is he
has a pot of glue that's hooked up to
a pot of glue, and he looks like ejaculate, and it's just over and over and over again.
You've activated my trap card, pot of glue. It allows me to draw 2 new cards. Paste Pot Pete is my absolute favorite villain in Marvel so far because it's the dumbest concept, and then when he realizes that he needs to expand his brand and come up with a new name, he realizes he can use paste to make traps and calls himself the Trapster.
He does rebrand.
The fucking Trapster.
What I think is funny is, one, they kind of make him fairly competent. Like the silliest villain is pretty effective at taking people down. But then I remembered, like, especially having Spider-Man in the same issue, I think. Is that the cake issue?
Yeah, it might be.
So there's a superhero, there's a glue hero and a glue villain. Like, Marvel is deep in the glue game right now.
Well, they're deep in the glue game. I'm wondering if, like, Elmer's and whoever
Elmer's
manufactures...
is throwing him a little money?
Well, and whoever manufactures asbestos, because they're like horny for asbestos.
Yes, always.
I know that we don't know the cancer stuff yet in 1965, but like I think that there's a villain that we skipped over in one of the Strange Tales issues with Johnny Storm, where he fights Asbestos Man.
I'm curious if it's a contentious issue, because that's what I've noticed is the asbestos seems to be coming out of the villain side. Are any of the heroes using asbestos? Or did I miss that?
I don't think so, but I think it's mainly
Spider-Man
because we
does.
have a... Oh, he does? Yeah, he has an asbestos web. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, but Johnny Storm is like... His whole deal is being on fire. So, of course, they're like, who can fight against a fire boy? Asbestos Man. And like asbestos is fucking everywhere. And it's so funny how often they name drop it like it's some sort of miracle panacea against burning. But the Frightful Four, it's just 4 different villains that decide they realize that, like, hey, if there were 4 of us and we all kind of are like the Fantastic Four, we could be like an evil Fantastic Four. That seems a good enough reason to team up. And it's the Wizard, who I think we've seen before in like a Doctor Strange issue. It's Sandman, who we've seen several times now, mostly in Spider-Man. It's Paste Pot Pete, and the newcomer, who will become very important as we keep going, is Madame Medusa.
Which was neat. I didn't realize she started as a sort of Namor-like. Because the first time we met the Inhumans, they're unaligned with the heroes, but they seem generally good.
Totally.
So now she's on a villain team, and I was surprised to see her.
Yeah, and I enjoy. I mean, at this point in time, we haven't seen the Inhumans yet, so they haven't been introduced. And Medusa's the first one that we meet. I think it's probably a retcon that she's part of that whole thing, unless I'm not giving enough credit to Stan Lee, but like I don't think they've thought ahead with how they're going to use Medusa in the future. But it is fun. She's a spooky lady from the Mediterranean who has very long hair that she can control like it's a
yeah. She's the Reed Richards type, I think, is who she's supposed to be. She just stretches her hair around. There's a funny scene or a funny panel of her switching off the light in Ben Grimm's room, and he freaks out. So I guess he sleeps with the light on.
Yeah. Oh God, what a cutie. So they go through a few things, the Fantastic Four, over the course of these 5 issues that we read. Notably, my favorite thing in the world is that they're getting married, and suddenly Sue just gets a bee in her bonnet about like, you know what? I'd love to marry you, but I'm still not over how the Skrulls killed my dad. So like, what if like for a wedding present you kill all the Skrulls for me? Can we fly and start an intergalactic war for my wedding?
It also feels like that like lollygagging of we can't get married till it's legal for everyone. Like,
yeah, right.
She puts this sort of insane, milestone between them and marriage.
Yeah,
it's like fine. Here we go then.
Okay, I've got a fucking spaceship. I know everyone at NASA.
I'm gonna fight a planet because this is definitely Reed Richards is getting his dick wet again. So if I've got to fight a planet, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So they go. There's a couple, like Shane was mentioning, like Shane was complaining about, rightfully so. There's a couple different ways in which the Fantastic Four lose their powers this week.
I thought it was all connected. Didn't landing on the Skrull planet kind of turn them into like they seem only like temporarily powered by the gun at the moment.
I'm not sure. It's possible that the Skrull planet did it, but I thought that the second time it was because of the Frightful Four's Q bomb. Some sort of radiation from their Q bomb.
They lost it from the Q bomb, and then they got hit with the same beam because Reed was like, "Oh wait, we did this last week. Come here, let me shoot you again."
I guess I misread the order of events. I thought the bomb was so like almost took them out because they'd just sort of depowered. But no,
I think they still had their power. I think they'd gotten their powers back after their trip to the Skrull homeworld.
When they lose them, but they used the gun on the.
They used the gun in the homeworld because so Reed has this gun that like boosts their powers. And so when they get to the Skrull planet, they all lose them. And the thing has like my favorite line this whole week where he punches something as a test and it makes a sound, it makes a whap sound, and he goes, "Whap! You hear that? Nothing but a puny whap! Me, who used to never get anything less than a baroom or at least a kapow." And I love that sort of like fourth wall breaking reference of the sound effects. It's really funny. But yeah, there's some stuff that's not worth talking about with like a Skrull warlord named Morat, and
there's an odd it's just for me. It's just a contrivance written that you didn't have to write it to. You know what I mean? Like if you, it's like solving a problem you didn't have to introduce in the first place. It just seems odd. So Morat is I think killed or at least heavily wounded by the king of the Skrulls, and Reed saves his daughter, or Sue saves his daughter.
Yeah, she does with a force field.
Yeah, and so the king offers them, one sort of like kingly present for saving her. And when they say we want, justice for the man who killed Dr. Storm, he says we already did that, so no present, no king's present for you. And I just think Yeah, it's just kind of silly. He didn't have to offer them a present if he was going to bone them in the next panel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, that was Morat. Morat did that, and he's dead now.
Just iced
so
him.
Go home.
Yeah, see ya.
Go home.
And he's
humans.
like super happy about it. He's like, you just saved me a king's present, which is a little funny. That line is, but it's not really framed as a joke. So
No. So there's this shenanigans with the Q bomb. The Trapster and Medusa, I think is implied maybe they fucking. Like, I don't know if you guys got that vibe.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, they're at least they're flirting. So there's like this like interesting dynamic that we don't get to spend very long with in the Frightful Four.
She knows she's got what she's looking for.
Which is glue and traps.
That white ooze, that good white ooze.
Yeah, he's always got a nice big white ooze splat ready.
I love a man who can bring traps into the bedroom.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I don't know. So, like we said, there's a Q bomb that gets detonated, and it again removes their powers, but like completely this time. And Ben, even this time, turns back into a normal dude. Which we have to wait 2 issues before Ben finally complains about, or like even mentions how it's nice for him to be human again. Like,
yeah,
I thought this was really weird because that was such a central part of his whole deal, was how upset he was that he's a monster. And then as soon as he's a normal guy, he doesn't even say anything about it.
I think they just didn't want to waste the page space on it because they were sort of involved in a plot in the Doctor Doom, the whole
I agree. I agree with you.
But it was it was noticeable. 100%.
Totally noticeable and pretty strange. Yeah, so there's this 2-issue thing that I actually thought was kind of fun, where they have to team up with Daredevil because they're powerless and Daredevil's around, because I guess they use Matt Murdock as their lawyer.
Yeah.
And so Daredevil's around and he has to help because Dr. Doom, the fun juice he drank at that party a couple weeks back, finally wears off. And he's like, wait a minute, I didn't kill the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
No! And so he shows up to finish the job. And so we spend 2 issues fighting Dr. Doom. I actually thought it was kind of fun watching the Fantastic Four try and figure out how to do stuff without powers.
Totally. Although there was one of my least favorite little, MacGuffin plot twists was that, they couldn't use the gun right away, even though the gun is what brings their powers back eventually, because it was recharging.
I know. Man, that shit is terrible. That's Iron Man level bullshit.
It's okay if you mention it. Like, if they said at the beginning, we've got, 5 days before we can use the gun, if it's even going to work. Then I'm game. I'm ready to play ball. But just introducing it as this Deus Ex Machina at the very end was unfulfilling.
Yeah, they even have Daredevil say something like they're like I think Ben is like, wait a minute, why didn't you use the gun to do this like yesterday? And then Daredevil on the side of the panel is like, yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
So the ending I did like from it was what I expected was everybody was kind of on their last leg, because that's something I enjoy about Doctor Doom. Is I think most of the time when they go up against other villains, I should say, either you've got a group, you've got your frightsome four, or it's somebody who's kind of got a good counter but isn't specifically powerful. Yeah. And Doom is the only one who is like 4 times better. You just need all 4 of them to sort of play ball. Anyway. So what I had sort of expected was that everybody was getting their butt kicked after they'd repowered, and Ben begrudgingly becomes the thing to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Richards takes away that agency from him and shoots him with the ray, turns him back into the thing, and then, things... And he even says, I don't know he'll ever forgive me for this.
And the number of times Mr. Fantastic has said, I don't know if he'll ever forgive me, but I have to anyway.
I know.
Too damn high.
It's too damn high.
Are you really his friend?
It was pretty upsetting, especially like in the sort of, in the comic book, not this literal universe, but like in the universe of what a comic book is, in the genre, I guess. They don't need the thing. Like the good guys always win. You don't need a thing. You can if you had to, if this was even slightly realistic, they'd just recruit the Hulk if they had to. If we need a strong man to round out the team,
or they just become the Thrilling Three, right? Like
totally. So to me, the plot, or the sort of, like I said, the mythos doesn't really, it doesn't make me think they actually need the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't love that Reed Richards is a jerk and just does it, which is why I liked when the thing quits at the end. He's like, fuck this.
Same. Yeah. And actually, that fight I mean, the Thing goes mano a mano versus Doom and wins, and it's baller, actually.
Yeah, he hulks out for sure. And he's like tearing into his metal guts at the very end.
Yeah. And he says, he's like, how are you coming back? Like, how are you beating me? And he's like, mister, maybe I'm just too dumb to collapse, too ugly to die. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. That's hype as shit. I love that. It's like, it's an interesting contrast to the banter that he was having with Daredevil when they were going one-on-one. Where
he's just like
Doom says,
spouting insults.
Yeah, Doom's like, you dare attack me physically? He says, why not? I even walk in the rain without my booties sometimes. That's why they call me Daredevil. I don't know. It was a really fun issue. I thought it was great. And I am excited to see what happens now that Ben is leaving. I'm sure they'll reset it quickly. Yeah,
and that's the only part that really bugs me is the urgency with which they think they need to reset back to, the start of the Simpsons episode. Mm-hmm. I'd love to just have a bit of breathing room with Ben Grimm going in and out of these power situations.
Totally, like having to see Ben like living with Alicia, not doing hero stuff, and like seeing the 4 symbol go up and like watching a fight out of his window and being like, shit. But like, should I go help? No, I quit. Like that could be really interesting and sad. What about Spider-Man this week? I had a lot of stuff going on.
I'm forgetting which one was the first issue.
The Beetle.
The first issue is with the Beetle.
Oh,
the first issue is with the Beetle, and then the ping pong paddles made of webbing.
The Beetle. The Beetle is kind of just a silly Iron Man, right? He's got an armor and it flies.
Yeah,
and
he's mostly a Torch villain. He fights the Human Torch. Which is funny, like to be an arch villain of one member of the Fantastic Four. I fight Johnny, but only when he goes off for a solo adventure. I kind of stay away when he's with his family.
Well, and that's kind of par for the course with these sort of Marvel teams that they're building, right? Is like you might be a Thor villain, but you're just not an Avengers villain. Like,
yeah, I thought that there was. I mean, if we want to talk about this as sort of a big concept, there's a lot of girl drama and sexist shit happening in Spider-Man's life.
It's been going on, but it did feel maybe we're just at our breaking point at this point. It felt more prominent in all of the these females, and then they use the word female every time.
Oh, it's so bad. It makes me feel like it's like. I just hear the incel voice, just like female. These females.
Yeah, it does.
Am I right, boys?
It does feel like somebody just dumped Stan Lee. It's like that's the energy that's coming out of these comics.
Oh my god, do you think that's what happened?
I have no idea.
That's my headcanon. That's my headcanon now.
Hey, true believers, I don't want to talk about what happened with me and Sheila, but let's write a Spider-Man this week. The females are really betraying Peter a lot. Oh, man, I wish they'd stop that, these classic females. Hey, Stan, you want to fucking comment? Shut the fuck up! The Betty stuff, I kind of got the vibe last week that they were broken up because Betty was seeing Ned Leeds, right? Like,
I'm not sure that they have the same, working concept of what whether you're dating or not dating that we have today.
Not at all. Not at all.
It just seems like you can hang out with a chick one time and then you're going steady, but also you're still going out with other people. You can write that. They can just show up at your house and that's okay.
It's really weird. And I want to actually throw props to this title for a second because usually in the sort of sexist thing that I've made in my mind about what these are, the kind of misunderstanding that we would have is like Peter says something that could be misconstrued and the woman goes, oh, and then runs away from the scene and doesn't get context. Peter does that twice as much as Betty right now.
Mm-hmm. He does.
But he's doing it all the time.
But there is this pretty upsetting. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's upsetting. I'll go that far where I'll own the word. I'll say it. I'll say it on air. Upsetting.
Give me chills.
Peter is complaining about how why is it every time I do something it just makes things worse, and then he's like, could anybody have worse luck than me? And I just thought it was funny. This why do my actions have consequences so constantly?
Oh, God.
Dang this luck. Dang this luck of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there is a small part of it that you can say that's just being a stupid teen boy. The rest of it is problem.
Well,
but,
that's the interesting thing is like the absolute inability to sort of take responsibility for your actions does sort of jive with his incel Columbine energy.
Yes. There's a part. I loved this line because of how much I hated it. Peter is talking to Betty. Because Betty got a letter from Ned Leeds, the sexy reporter that went off to go work in Europe for a while that she was kind of flirting with. She got a letter from him, and she didn't mention it to Peter. And
now he thinks it's full of dick pics, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
How great would that be if Ned Leeds mailed dick pics from you? That's my headcanon. Because I just want Ned Leeds and Betty to get together.
Yeah, seriously.
I want her to have nothing to do with this teenage monstrosity.
You want her to be Betty Leeds.
I want her to be Betty Leeds.
But they're having a conversation. Like Peter and Jameson are talking about something, and he's mad. J. Jonah Jameson's mad he didn't get photos of a certain thing because he couldn't get photos. And he walks by Betty, and she's like, "Oh, too bad you disappointed him about those Peter's. Oh, too bad you disappointed him. Too bad you disappointed. No, shut up. We're not keeping that in.
Nope, Peter's pics. That's going in.
Okay, fine. All right, the real quote. Too bad you disappointed him about those pictures, Peter. And he says, well, lots of people disappoint other people, Betty. And she's like, whoa, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't want to fucking... And he just walks out of the room. It's like, you're a fucking lit fuse all the time. That's the most passive-aggressive... Oh, God, it's terrible. It's terrible watching Peter do this. He's so bad at dating. My favorite moment is later on, which, of course, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's a part where Betty runs into Liz, and they're having and Peter's not even there, and they're sort of arguing over Peter, and their word bubbles are like frosty, like they're all jagged edged, and they're angry, and they go to Peter's house because I guess maybe they both have reasons to go there, but they're like, we're gonna go find Peter, and they show up, and Aunt May answers the door, and they look past her, and finally we kind of see Mary Jane Watson, this girl that she's been trying to set Peter up with. And they both have this moment. We see their faces just shocked, like they've seen a ghost, because it's like their animal instincts both recognize she's a superior woman or something. It's like it's so weird and sexist, this construction, but like they're like, oh no, she's like a fucking supermodel. Has he been hiding her from us? And they leave dejected. It's so bizarre. And we don't even get to see MJ's face because it's hidden behind a flower because it's like some sort of reveal how hot she is.
Yeah, the hiding of her face was odd.
What's crazy to me is that I know more about the Spider-Man thing to come, and we have Liz, we have Betty. He's hit on Sue Storm. He's hit on the Torch's girlfriend. We now have MJ, and we still haven't even met the girl that's going to be his first serious girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. Like, the number of women floating in and out of Peter's life is the most absurd detail that they've thrown in about Peter in this early comic. It's insanity to me.
It's like it's a fantasy thing. Right?
Of course, yeah. It's the teenage boy fantasy that they're playing off of. Although I didn't realize in the early incarnations that he doesn't get with Mary Jane before Gwen Stacy.
I think maybe. I don't remember the chronology either. I'm pretty sure that they are the first ones to date, but I don't know that. So, I'm sure we'll be...
We already know how loosely they use that word, so it's kind of hard to tell.
What else we got here? What villains did we fight? We had a bunch of Green Goblin.
We had some Goblin.
We had... that Mysterio issue was fun.
I liked the Mysterio issue. This is the first time any story that we've read has had any semblance of nuance. Mm-hmm. Where we don't see Mysterio on the cover, and also the introduction. The first time Peter thought he was snapping was a little more heavy-handed. In this one, somebody starts spreading the rumor like before he even starts getting the hallucinations.
Yeah,
it just played on the page a lot better.
Yeah, because he's like reading in the paper that like they're gonna interview some psychiatrist who's convinced Spider-Man is going nuts, and he's like, "What? I'm not going nuts."
The sort of psychological issues I think are going to be more interesting to me overall in general. Yeah, but there's something kind of deeply scary, and like because this was kind of a horror issue, and like a grown adult manipulating the brain of a growing boy was effective. It was gross.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know that he's a teenager, it still worked. Like they're able to he's very manipulatable for how powerful he is.
Yeah, and that
Well, he's
again,
like a 12-year-old. He's
Which
in the fucking mind of a 12-year-old. Like, what do you expect?
But like I said, in the scariness and in the yucky vibes, it works.
Yeah. And again, that's a dynamic that we saw in the newest Spider-Man movie that I feel like they captured really well, of Mysterio's just like incredibly deft ability to get at Peter's brain and just make him second guess everything. It's very nice to see play out. I also want to give props to this issue's cover specifically, because this is Amazing Spider-Man 24. This is the actual best cover of anything we've read so far. It's got like a writhing, freaked out Spider-Man fighting spectral images of Sandman and the Vulture, while the background, he's in an upside down room and there's like a desk upside down and a man standing at it facing away at an angle. And it's just, I don't know, the composition of it and like what it implies about the issue is so much more interesting than any other cover, which is basically just like Spider-Man fights villain.
God, what about the shirtless Navy hunk saving the Fantastic Four?
I could stare at that cover all day.
That was so absurd to me. It felt like it felt intentionally pornographic.
It absolutely was. It's always, and I was reading, I thought to myself, there's always one sailor who has to take his clothes off. There's always one. Everyone like, oh, there goes Andy taking his shirt off again.
All the Fantastic Four are passed out from the Q bomb, and so the soldiers are just like, heaving these lifeless bodies. It's intensely sexual. You know how lifeless body is super sexual.
Oh boy, walk that back. Walk it back.
I do think, Andy, I agree with you that the upside down room thing was such a point of interest, not even just on the cover, but
with the dialogue was upside down,
but like inside of the book as well when the dialogue was upside down. And then we're finally getting to this place where there's some like panel differentiation where the panels are different sizes. It's not just like a 9-panel spread, right? Always. Mm-hmm. And there's even a couple where like they had so many panels on the page that were different sizes that they had little arrows pointing to which one you should read next.
I had a question for you guys, and because I'm always curious what the expected use case is. Like if you have a panel like that, a page like that, let's say, in a real handheld comic, you still don't actually know if the intent is to try to read it upside down or to flip the comic like a 5-year-old.
I always flip the comic.
I kind of do too usually. But
I always flip the comic. I flipped my tablet. I flipped it upside down to read it.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask you. Is if the because doesn't the Marvel thing have an auto zoom or no?
It does, but I don't use it. I just look at pages.
I'm gonna tap into it right now. I'm gonna find out.
See if the auto zoom flips for you or asks you to read it upside down.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, because they do the sort of panel by panel view.
Guess what?
What?
So it goes from half of that panel to the other half of that panel, but it is not flipped. It is still upside down.
Okay, yeah. So it's not that intelligent.
That's pretty cool, though, that it broke it up into 2 pieces.
Yeah. I mean, a human had to go in and define the zones. I love that you got to define that zone, baby.
You got to let a human in and define the zone.
Blah.
Just a couple passing mentions of the other people that Spider-Man fights this week. We have the ringmaster is unseated as the leader of the circus people, and Clown is now in charge.
I liked what is it? Just Lady Serpent, Miss.
God, what's her name?
Empress Serpent. I forget exactly what her title is. I didn't love the intensely sexist energy when like Peter can't punch her and it's odd.
Yeah,
but I liked her
Princess Python.
She has a neat design where like she's got some sort of head wound,
right?
She's just she's graphic in a way most of these villains are more silly, and she's got this giant scar. Mm-hmm. I was interested. Then I was less interested when they tussle.
Yeah, I was also less interested in the Great Gambonos, the Clown, Cannonball, Ringmaster. These are terrible throwaway circus people.
They're pretty junk.
I love where it's like, you know who Spider-Man should fight next? Carnies. Just they're so scary and creepy. Just a bunch of carnies.
Well, they were like, everyone loved that Daredevil, right? Let's do it again.
Yeah. I never thought those people would come back. I don't even think they had names. They named them for their reappearance.
They only had names for 2 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
God, insane. We also have an issue where Spider-Man has to fight a tentacle robot controlled by J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Good.
It's so like, okay, wait, hang on, wait, listen. I have been so excited to get to this moment because I can't even explain to you the look of the little fat robot running through the city is one of the funniest things I have seen drawn on this page. It is a chubby, fat, little penguin-looking robot, and then it has Jonah's head just giant on it on a screen where he's like, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. Like, it's outrageous.
Hey, how do you control this thing? Oh, this is great. I'm going to wrap you up in my tentacles, Spider-Man. Like, what's fucking weird? It's so bizarre. This robot has like 50 tentacles. And as soon as it's terrifying. It wraps you up in such an awful way. And, oh, God, it's so awful to look at.
What I didn't get just like plot, beat by beat of this was, I don't know, I just didn't really believe the robot was like invincible to web.
Because of how oily it is? Because it's covered in so much oil that the web can't stick to it?
It felt stupid to get to that point. If you were gonna, if there could be any number of like better explanations why you can't web it up. It's too strong. It's too fast. It's too oily.
Right, I know what you're thinking. Last month we had Spider-Man fight a bunch of carnies. How am I going to one-up it? Well, I've got this little penguin robot that's super oily and has J. Jonah Jameson's head on it. I think it's going to be really good.
I agree with Shane that all the tentacle motion was really fun, as was like the fact that it was pretty competent in just like firing tentacles.
I'm going to leave that as a Yelp review. 4 out of 5 stars. The food was really good. The tentacle motion was really fun.
The tentacle motion was very well done. It's so funny. Hang on. I'm dropping a picture in the chat to you guys right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm dropping you this panel that is just perfection. And I'm going to do a little zoom on this robot man. And it's everything you ever want it to be.
He's so dumpy. And I love that J. Jonah Jameson is just controlling him like an RC car. Like he's having the best time of his life. Like it's so good. I think the climax of that issue is that like Spider-Man somehow manages to wriggle out of his costume and like manipulate it with webs like a puppet so that when they show up and they unmask him, there's nothing in it. It was the weirdest. I don't know.
That was an odd choice. I think that was just to get a little one-upsman so that we have a panel of J. Jonah Jameson like throwing the Spider-Man hat on the ground.
Damn it!
Because the way he gets out of it is kind of neat. The all of the tentacles just like slowly draw you in like a fishing line, and when it's like pressing Spider-Man body to body against this dumpy robot, he's able to get out, get inside the guts and disable the robot.
I think the only other thing that I thought was fun, one of these issues, I think maybe it was the first one with the clown people, but there's a side plot where the Human Torch's girlfriend is like really fed up with him being a hero all the time and constantly flaming on, that she sort of like gives him an ultimatum that he has to go 24 hours without flaming on. And it leads into this really weird misunderstanding where she calls him with a real emergency and he's like, I know what you're doing. You're just trying to get me to flame on.
Yeah, when they change flame on from a catchphrase to a verb, it is super silly.
You ever have this problem where your boyfriend just won't stop flaming on?
He just won't stop doing that flame on.
Something I didn't mention with the beetle that I thought was funny was the way it's like the very first panel of the very first issue that we read, where he's walking out of jail and he's like, well, I served my time. They had no choice but to give me all my armor and weapons back. And I was like, yes! So it's Air Bud rules for supervillains.
There's no law against giving me my costume back, you creeps.
I just think it's so funny. The prison sentences for these villains they must be like 2 weeks. It's like, well, you've served your time. Here's all of your evil implements
Andy,
back. I hope you don't do it again.
They're white, so you know, the prison industrial complex isn't for them.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You're a nice reformed white now. Here's all your villain stuff.
Oh, Christ.
Trash. It's just trash.
So to accompany this exceptionally horny week, which we were talking about, it's a very horny week of comics with a lot of just very like high emotion. Shane, do you have a fuck, marry, kill for us today?
Oh man, do I ever, boys? Okay, so
I hope
this
one of them is the Navy.
the entire Navy. I know which one I picked for that.
You deny a father one last romp with his boy before the Navy ruins him.
I'm a little daddy's boy. All right, give it to us.
All right, sorry. So for this week's Fuck, Marry, Kill, your options are the Giant Python,
Ooh.
Paste Pot Pete,
Mm-hmm.
and Robot Jonah.
That's
Little
hard.
penguin
This is a
robot
hard
Jonah.
one.
You've given us a tough order.
Yeah, we might need to cut out some dead air while I do some math.
Oh, please let me consult my fuck abacus. Okay, I've had a sidebar with my dick, and I think I have to abstain from this week. I can't do any of it. No,
We all know that Andy fucks Paste Pot Pete. Let's be real.
I think I might have to because I don't want to fuck either of the other two.
You don't want those sweet, sweet robot tentacles?
I mean, I know what you're saying, but like, it's not my kind of play. I think I don't know if I'm into that. I'm pretty claustrophobic.
I think I kill Paste Pot Pete. He's out of here.
Damn
thank
it.
God.
Okay. All right. Well, we were already off on a different foot.
Well, he gets reborn as the
too
Trapster.
much. He's the Trapster. Now the Trapster, I might reconsider.
Oh, I see. Now that Medusa wants him, now you think he's an interesting catch.
And then I would fuck the Jonah robot.
Okay, and you marry the Cobra.
And I marry the Cobra.
It's a python.
It is a python.
You're right. It is a python. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It is a
You marry that
pretzel python.
Man, I feel like I have to flip some of that stuff. I might do everything different, right? So I gotta fuck Paste Pot Pete. I think that I have to. I think just because of my personal uncomfortableness with the fucking terrifying coils. I mean, both of them have awful coils. I think I'd be better off marrying the python and killing the Jonah robot. So I think we've had completely different answers.
We both marry the python.
Oh, that's a good call. We do marry the python. Are we 3 for 3? Who are you going to marry, Shane?
I for sure also marry the python.
Yes! Okay, but we're going to have to talk about this because we can't all three marry the python. But
we work on a schedule. With our it's a polycule, the three of us and a snake.
This is my snake wife. Who do you kill, Shane?
Oh my gosh, I kill the robot. I do kill the robot.
Okay, good. So we have the same. Shane and I are the same. You fuck Paste Pot Pete.
But the only reason I fuck Paste Pot Pete is because I don't want to fuck the python. So he's like last choice. Period.
Understood. I feel pretty good. We're all gonna marry a snake. Thanks for listening this week. We all marry a snake. That's
Reptilian Wives Club. Ooh, Reptilian Wives Club.
I
yes.
like that. But I hope you enjoyed this week. I hope you come visit us at the Infinite Backlog next week. And so, in the words of Stan Lee, until then, face front and don't wear your costume until it's good and dry. Because we didn't talk about the fucking laundry thing that Spider-Man goes through. Sorry, Spider-Man has a laundry subplot where he has to wash his suit, but it's too wet to wear. Bye, everybody.